The leader of a powerful Middle Eastern nation has just fallen. Not politically, not metaphorically, not because of elections or public pressure. He has fallen, and somewhere in the world. In a quiet apartment on the fourth floor of a building that smells faintly of detergent and old wood, a man with a fake name just saw that news on his phone. He didn't react, no smile, no shock, no relief, just silence. Because when you spend years living inside a lie, eventually your face forgets how truth looks. The neighbors think he's a telecommunications engineer. They greet him politely when he buys bread in the morning. They think he's slightly quiet, maybe a little reserved. They have no idea that the man living next door once became one of the most valuable intelligence assets a Western agency had in the Middle East in 20 years. And it all began with a €4.50 coffee on a Tuesday afternoon in Vienna. You were born in Tehran, a good student, quiet, disciplined. Exactly the type of person governments love to invest in. At 23, you received a scholarship funded by your country's energy ministry to study nuclear engineering at the Vienna University of Technology. Officially, the scholarship existed to help develop peaceful energy technology. Unofficially, everyone understood the expectation. You study abroad, you learn everything the West knows. And then you come home and serve the state. For 5 years, that plan worked perfectly, until something changed. Because 5 years in Europe does something strange to a mind that grew up under strict systems. You see how different societies function, how people argue openly, how newspapers criticize leaders, how information flows without permission. You didn't become a dissident, you never protested, you never wrote anonymous blogs. You became something much more dangerous. Someone who knew the system from inside and realized the world could work differently. Your doctorate was nearly finished. A prestigious position was already waiting for you back home at the National Atomic Energy Organization. Your mother told neighbors proudly, "My son is a nuclear engineer." Your younger brother, Darius, worked as a technician in a military unit and constantly texted asking when you'd return. Everything was planned. Everything was ordered. Then one afternoon, a man sat at your table in a small cafe in Vienna. He introduced himself simply as Michael. Average height, wrinkled coat, shoes that looked like they had survived a decade of rain. He ordered coffee, paid in cash, and then, without drama, he began describing your life, your thesis, your scholarship, the German OG company that offered you 3 times the salary to stay in Europe, an offer you rejected. Then he mentioned something you had never told anyone. 3 months earlier, you had called your mother from a payphone late at night. You cried. You told her you didn't want to come back. You used a payphone, specifically so nobody could track the call. Yet somehow, he knew that in that moment, you understood 2 things. First, they had been watching you far longer than he admitted. Second, if they wanted to harm you, they already could have. This wasn't a threat. It was an audition. Michael slid a small card across the table. 1 phone number? No. Explanation, he finished his coffee and left. You stared at that card for 11 minutes. It took you 4 days to call. The request was surprisingly simple. Return home. Accept the job waiting for you. Live exactly the life everyone expected. Become a loyal engineer. Do your work, say the right things. Attend the meetings, smile at the right moments. The hardest part of espionage, it turns out, isn't stealing secrets, it's pretending to belong. Going back after 5 years in Vienna felt strange. The smell of traffic, dust, and fresh bread was the same. But you weren't. Your mother spent hours cooking your favorite meal the first Sunday you returned. Your father asked about Europe. Darius talked proudly about his work. You nodded, smiled, asked questions, while another part of your mind quietly recorded everything, cataloging, observing, archive. This is when you learned something uncomfortable. Betrayal doesn't feel like betrayal when you explain it. To yourself properly, it feels like clarity. The job at the energy organization was technically fascinating and morally complicated. From the first week, you saw documents describing uranium enrichment levels that had nothing to do with civilian electricity. Everyone pretended otherwise. No. One said it directly, but you understood. So did Michael. 5 months later, he asked for your first real task. 3 specific pages from an internal facility report. Operational capacity estimates. You photographed them late at night in your apartment. Bathroom. You ran the tap while you worked. Not to hide sound, but because the ritual helped your hands stay steady. At 11:47 p.m., you transmitted the files. When it finished, you looked in the mirror. Someone standing there had just crossed a line with no return. If anyone discovered what you had done, the punishment would be simple. Public execution. Your hands didn't shake. That frightened you more than the risk. Months past, your career advanced. The system rewarded you. By month 14, you were promoted to coordinate technical operations for a classified project. Access level 4, production estimates, restricted facilities. Meetings that appeared on no official schedule. Michael's reply arrived within 8 minutes. Normally, he waited 2 days. This time, his message contained 16 new intelligence requests. Someone at headquarters had clearly been waiting for this moment. Then something went wrong. Month 16. A department meeting. Your director walked in late. For a man obsessed with discipline, that meant something was very wrong. He announced the intelligence ministry had detected a leak somewhere inside the nuclear sector. Every department would submit reports, analyzing internal vulnerabilities. Then he looked directly at you. Your division had access to most of the compromised data. You were asked to write the report about the leak. That was you. You spent 9 days preparing 16 pages. 5 theoretical explanations, all plausible, none real, designed carefully to scatter the investigation in multiple directions. Your director praised the Intelity report as excellent analysis. You went to the bathroom afterward and turned on the tap. The ritual didn't calm you anymore. 2 years after the Vienna coffee, the mission changed. The agency wanted something different now, not nuclear data. The leader himself, his movements, his private schedule, locations that never appeared on official calendars. You walked through the city for hours thinking about the request. About your mother, about Darius, about what would happen to them if you were. Discovered history had already answered that question many times. Finally, he sent 6 words back. Understood. Need time to position myself? 4 months later, you had access. A technical infrastructure committee, linked indirectly to security planning. Through those documents, you could infer movement. Schedules, visits, routes, patterns, exactly the type of information satellites couldn't capture. One night in your apartment, you held the final file. 2 months of inferred movement data, security gaps, possible vulnerabilities. Your phone VIBR-ATED.A. Voice message from Darius. He sounded happy, talking about work, joking about visiting your parents that weekend. You listened to the entire message, then looked at the device in your hand. You didn't send the file that night, not yet. You sat in the dark for 20 minutes, then you transmitted everything. The data moved through encrypted servers and satellites for seconds. That's all it took. For seconds that would eventually end a leader's life. Weeks later, the news appeared. First rumors, then an accident, then carefully worded statements from governments around the world. A leader had fallen. No country confirmed anything, but everyone understood. In your office, the announcement froze the entire room. You performed shock perfectly. 2 years of practice had made your expression flawless. The investigation that followed was brutal. Eventually, suspicion settled on another engineer, a quiet man with a family. Children who loved history, a wife who taught literature, completely. Innocent, you knew it, and you did nothing. Because sometimes the most important act in espionage is silence. 6 weeks later, you disappeared. New passport, new country. A modest apartment under warm weather. Neighbors who believe you repair communication. Networks. Your mother thinks you vanished. Your brother still searches for answers. And sometimes at night, you wonder about the man who took the blame for everything you did. Today, you read the headline again on your phone. The leader is gone. History has moved on. The world barely remembers the moment, and you realize something strange. All those years of deception, all those moral compromises, all those lives affected by decisions they never chose. Everything reduced to 4 seconds of transmitted data from a bathroom. Was it worth it? You don't know. And that uncertainty might be the only honest thing left in your life, because you are free, you are safe, and you are a man with a fake name. Living under good weather. Carrying a secret that will never truly disappear.